Today we will discuss about sampling, right? Uh, Sampling is very important in the research because normally when we try to find the right answers or solution to the research problem, and we try to collect the data. Normally data in different ways we are collecting the data. Most of the time we try to collect the data from the representative. So because it is not possible to consider all the population to collect the data. So that's why researchers heavily depending on the samples, right? Heavily depending on the sample. So that's why sample is kind of a smaller collection of units, right? Smaller collection, but it should be a representation, right? A sample is a smaller collection of units from a population used to determine the truths about the population. This is a definition given by Field in 2005. So a smaller collection of the units, but it should be a representation. A representation means when we try to collect the data from the particular population, population is including all the elements, right? All the respondents. But in practical, it is not possible to collect the data from all the participants. So, for example, we are going to collect the data about the consumer behavior in Sri Lanka. In Sri Lanka, you all know that 21 million, right, people. So then it is not possible to collect the data from this huge population. So the researchers, what they do to collect the data, they are using the sample. Sample is a collection of units from a population used to determine the growth about the population. So three factors that influence sample representativeness: the sample procedure, sample size, and participation. These are three important things. Researchers dealing with the sample, then they consider about how they can deal with this, right? So then here, uh, three important things like a sample procedure, sample size, and participation. So, uh, you know, right, this sample procedure we will discuss about because that is systematically uh, they are following the procedure, right? So to avoid the uh, bias, or sometimes when they are collecting the sample, so then there may be bias because they can select some people favorably to get some results, so then that is not accepted in the research. So that's why researchers normally need to be a uh, unbiased right person to collect the data. And through that, normally they are following the procedure. So then the procedures, you see, there are different procedures available. Uh, Researchers normally they follow these research different procedures, right? Uh, so when they collect the data for the sample procedure simply another way we can say is a method used to select the individuals or items from the larger population. As I said, the larger population means not only the total population, whatever the population they are considering as a respondents. So from that they can collect a sample. So another example also we can discuss. One researcher tried to understand the university students' behavior, right? So then in Sri Lanka, around 100, there are now 450,000 students roughly. They are right, studying in the state universities. So then the 2000, 250,000 is a big number. So then it is not possible to collect that data from 250 students. So then they can go for a sampling. So then sampling procedures, there are several sampling methods available. We will discuss one by one later. Each with its own strengths and weaknesses. Normally random sampling, everyone is talking about random sampling. Random sampling is every member of the population has an equal chance of being selected. That is the random. So sometimes this is they are selecting the sample as a random, but they should understand the meaning of random. Random is not just picking here and there. Random is picking from the population in a systematic way. That means when they are selecting the random sampling, that means the particular researcher is giving equal chance to the every participant to be selected, right? So that's why there's no bias. So, for example, we are going to select 1,000 university students from 250,000 university students, so then the particular researcher is giving the equal chance to the 250 students to be selected, right? So among 250 students, the researcher can select around 1,000 students. It's a random sample, but that is very difficult to collect because 250 would be included in the selection procedure. 250,000, right? 250,000 students. Details should be given or considered the random sampling method to select 1,000 students. So then later we will discuss about how we can select a random sample. So then every member of the population has an equal chance of being selected. This method helps to eliminate the bias. But actually, so then 1 to 250, they have to name it. From that, they can use the random sample, random table or some other things to collect the data. Another one is a stratified sample, right? Stratified sampling means the population is divided into strata. Strata means a subgroups, and random samples are taken from each strata, right? So then, say for example, we can university students we can categorize into two strata mainly, male and female, or otherwise we can make a strata in a different ways. Like even we can make a subgroup. Each universities we consider as subgroups, or in each university, each faculty considered maybe as a subgroup. So then that is mean we try to divide the population into different strata. Strata means a kind of a division or subgroups, and random samples are taken from each strata, right? So then this ensures representation from all subgroups. So that also possible because they want to get the representation from each group. Sometimes if we don't give an equal chance, or if we don't consider the stratification or strata, sometimes a majority of the people would be selected. So that's why if they want to give a chance to the minority people also in a proportional way, they can give a certified random as well, right? So another one is the systematic sampling procedure, right? Systematic procedure means every number, right? Nth number of the population is selected. This simpler but can introduce a bias if there are pattern in the population, right? So that also we will discuss later. Another one is the convenience sampling. Normally, most of the undergraduates and other people are doing it is convenience sampling, but actually, sometimes people misunderstand about the convenience sampling. Samples are taken from group that is easy to access. This is less representative, but more practical. Less representative. So that's why when you are going to do a professional survey or research and try to publish your work, when you write to publish the work, people may ask the question about your sampling. So you may say the convenient sampling. Convenient sampling means it is convenient to collect the sample, but scientifically there are a lot of criticism about this convenient sampling because that is the biased one. Because we are selecting the people based on our convenience. So that means sometimes we are ignoring some important participants to express their idea. We don't give equal chance, or we don't sometimes consider to be selected everyone. So that's why the convenience sampling is practical one, but scientifically it cannot be given a kind of a credibility, right, in the sample. So another one is cluster sampling, that population is divided into clusters, some of which are randomly selected, and then all members of the choosing clusters are studied, right? So there's a cluster sampling. Say, for example, university is going to, so one researcher is going to study the university students and select the sample. They consider the faculties. Say, for example, so for 7 faculties. So then they randomly select one, 2 or 3 faculty and they write to study all the faculty. Or sometimes one faculty, then they write to divide each batches and select batches, uh, right, select one batches, but that batches may be, uh, right, we can select one first year, second year, third year, fourth year, but randomly we can select. Sometimes we select for first year or second year, first year and second year, we can study all first year and second. That is a cluster sample. Another one is the sample size. Sample size is the number of individuals or items selected for the population or participating in the study. So the determining an appropriate sample size is crucial for the validity and reliability of the study results, right? So the sample size is the number of individuals or items. Sample size is the number of individuals or items, right? That is the size. So then from the population to participate in the study, then say for example, what is the number we are going to select? It's a sample size. So determining an appropriate sample size is crucial or vital or important for the validity and reliability of the study results, right? Validity and reliability of the study results. Factors influencing sample size include factors influencing the sample size includes population size. So population size means larger populations typically require larger samples, right? Larger populations typically require larger samples, right? Say for example, 250,000 university students, maybe 200 is not right really representing the university students. So that's why it is better to have a larger samples, right? And confidential interval, that also higher confidential levels, 95% require larger samples. Normal in the social science, we consider the confidential interval. We will discuss about later in the analysis part, the confidential interval that is very important. So to have a confidential interval, right? So then uh, larger sample is required. And margin of error, right? Margin of error. Error means smaller margins of error require a larger sample size. When we are dealing with the data, there may be an error, but to minimize the error, we should have a more samples or larger sample, right? And variability. So then higher variability in the population requires a larger sample to capture the diversity, right? Variable, higher variability in the because the respondents are varies based on their nature, background, profiles, and whatever aspects. So then we need larger samples to capture the diversity, right? And study design, another aspects of to decide the sample size is the study design. Complex designs may require larger samples to detect the significant effects. Complex design. So more than 3, 4, 5 variables, right? Sometimes not only the independent, dependent variable, moderating, mediating variables like that. So the different variables may be in one conceptual model. This model may be a more complex one because with a lot of variables. So that's in that case, it is right required to have a large samples to detect the significant effect. So that's the sample size. And another one is the participation. Participation refers to the involvement of selected individuals or items in the study. Right? Participation refers to the involvement of selected individuals or items in the study. It is essential to ensure, right? It is essential to ensure high participation rates to maintain the validity and representativeness of the sample. Right? High participation when we are selecting samples, so then it is expected everyone try to participate. If everyone try to participate, then that may represent the population, right? So the strategy is to increase the participation group, giving some incentives. Right? Say, for example, even you can select someone to uh, consider it as a respondent or participant, but when you write to approach, then they don't respond to you. They even you send the questionnaire or surveys forms, or online forms. Normally, people ignoring it. So then, to encourage them to participate, you can give some incentives. So providing rewards, compensations for participation. Another one is a clear communication. Clear communication means clearly explaining the purpose, benefits, and procedures of the study. Right? Clearly explaining the purpose. So if they understand the purpose, definitely they will participate. So that's why clear communication, right? Clearly explain the purpose, benefits, and procedures of the study. You have to explain to them. And another one is the convenience. So making the participation process easy and accessible because when you are collecting or try to get the response, make a simple way, right? Make a simple questions, simple procedures, so then they will participate, right? Uh, Another one, right? Follow, sending a reminders and follow up to encourage the participant. Even we also receive a lot of requests to try participate in the surveys. Sometimes due to the busy work, we sometimes fail to respond. So what they are always uh, right requesting, sending the reminders to encourage us to participate. So another one is the ethical considerations, ensuring a participant rights, privacy, and confidentiality are respected, right? Sample procedures. The researchers decide to use stratified sampling to ensure representation from different demographic groups, right? Sample size may be the desired confidence level, margin of error, expected variability. So then they determine that they need a sample size of 500. Like what you can select a sample, you have to give the justification why you are selecting the 500. That also how you can do the justification is depends on the nature of the study context. Right? Then, and as we discussed earlier, for the literature also, you have to refer the previous researchers, right? How they have selected sample size in a particular scenario, so then you can refer that a sample size, and you can give a citation, and you can refer the particular sample is selected based on the previous studies, right? To ensure a high participation rate, they offer a small monetary incentives, provide a clear instruction, and follow with the reminders. Right. So then when might you sample the entire population, right? When population is very small, right? When might you sample the entire population? Sometimes sample, as I said, is a representation if the population is very large. But if the population is manageable, that means small, very small. If the population is very small, so then you can use a entire sample, entire population considered, right, for the study. So then you can say this entire population is considered. So when it is for the, when you can use the entire population for the party considered as a participant, when the population is very small, then you can consider entire population, right, for the study purpose. So when you have extensive resources also, in other aspects, if you have a extensive resource, then you can consider India population that also manageable population. And when you don't expect a very high response, also you can consider India population because you can consider select the India population, but sometimes the response rate is important, right? You can select the India population, but sometimes response rate may be very low. So now we will consider the process. Sampling process carries several stages, defining the population of concern, right? Defining the population concern. So then how they are defining the population. Example, identify the entire group relevant to your research questions. Uh, say for example, social media influence on the consumer purchase among the university students, right? This may be a research problem. So then here population is the university students. Right now you can understand population is the university students. So then population of the concern is then all university students enrolled in undergraduate programs across university in Sri Lanka. Right. So then sampling frame that also we should understand. Specifying a sampling frame, that means create a list or set from which you can draw your sample. So then sampling frame means it's a kind of outline. Outline how you can, when we can have a name list. Name list is an outline. Now you can understand this is a frame. So that's why create a list of set from which you can draw your sample. This frame should cover the NDA population of concern. Right? So then here the NDA university student should be considered as a frame. So then sampling frame could be the list of all students enrolled in the university, right, in Sweden. So then sampling method, decide how to select item or events from the sampling frame. Example to ensure a diverse representation from the different background. We try to get the representation. You must choose certified sample. As I said, right, certified sample, we can divide into different. You could divide the population into strata based on the factors such as university, different university, year of study, or the faculty, right? So then randomly select the student from each strata. So then sample size, determining the sample size. So they decide how many individuals to include in your sample, ensuring it is statistically significant based on a statistical calculation for confidence level of 95% and a margin of error of 5%. You might determine that you need a sample size of more than 400 students at least. In implementing the sampling plan. that means follow the Susan sampling method to select your sample from the sampling frame. Follow the Susan sampling method to select your sample from the sampling frame. So, example, using the stratified sampling method, you might randomly select 100 students each from the strata, right? So then from each university, you can select 100 students like that. Sampling and data collection, collect the data from selected sample using appropriate methods. So normally, example, administrator survey. That means administrator survey means issuing a questionnaire to selected 400 students, asking questions about their social media usage, the type of influence they follow, and how these influences impact their purchase decision. And review the sampling process. So evaluate the sampling process to ensure accuracy and representativeness. So example, review the responses to ensure that each university stratum is adequately represented. Check for any biases or right another not representation or not responding, right, such as over representation of specific university or demographic group. So that is the process normally, right, follow the steps, right? So today we will stop here.